so that, people will get accessibility, to resources, to enable them to upgrade, themselves and update themselves. You agree with me? Life is not static. We are living in a globalized world.
Well said. But aside manpower development, let me find out from you, what other skills do you develop, here at the CMD?
Absolutely critical to have people skills, to have analytical skills, to have functionality skills, to enhance and consolidate on their numerical skills and appreciation skills, and the rest of it. And we don't actually also stop there. We look at about attitude. Did you incorporate, the issue about value reorientation? Because that's what Nigerians need. We need to change our attitude. We have to behave in the right way. So behavior is very critical. Because if you can change people's attitude, you can enhance productivity by 200%.
Now, DG, how are your services operated? Is it open to just, members of the private and public sector alone? What can you tell us about that?
It serves the private sector, the public sector, small and medium enterprise, bring in some idea about entrepreneurship, and bring in, ideas, about how we can make the civil servants more productive, and how we can enhance, learning through various kind of learning platforms, how we can provide adequate library, for management resources so that people can raise, their own productivity, through self-study, how we can promote executive programs like executive MBA programs, and how we can promote, actually e-learning, and how we can promote lifelong learning. So, in fact, the product we have in terms of our curriculum, you can find them on our website, all of them. And we got a spreadsheet. We say these are the shuttle programs we do throughout the year.
Now, obviously, you can't talk of all these wonderful initiatives, without having to deal with the challenges, on a day-to-day basis. What are these challenges, if I may ask, and, how are you being able to surmount or some of them, if not all of them, being the Director General of the CMD?
Well, the challenges are challenging, in the sense that, of course, I'm sure you will appreciate when you have an agency of government that has been existing for 40 years. There are challenges with infrastructure. I have just gone round, to the staff housing. Because the staff, accommodation is existing within the center, it is not something that was monetized. It's an integral part of the center. And if you look at the state of it and the level of dilapidation, we need to do something about it. And likewise, our training complex. And likewise, our library. We are promoting the culture of e-library, e-books, and e-journals. We want people to access, our materials within their comfort zones. If you are talking about paper books, the hard copies, we got about 48,000 in our library. But how many people will walk in? But we want our people to have to access what we have got. So when people come here, we felt they are here to learn. And people can only concentrate and be focused if they have got excellent resources, available.
Now, give us an overview or an insight into the 2013 budget. Let's even know how much was released for the CMD in order to, carry out its activities, and how positive or negative, if you like, how has it affected its operations for the year?
I'm sure you know that as a government agency of Nigeria, we got three, kind of allocation in terms of capital, personnel, as well as the overheads. So our staff salary is being paid, of course, by the government. And capital allocations, of course, normally is through an envelope. And of course, by any standard, if you are talking about 2013 budget, I've got, an allocation of about 150 million, budgetary allocation. And I have got a release, of about 40%. And with that, we are able to achieve as much as we could, in the sense that we have to buy ICT, equipment. It's not about computers only. We have to have facilities for video conferencing. And we have to have, actually, facilities, for teaching and learning, interactive, kind of whiteboard, and some laptops, and all the relevant ICT infrastructure, to do with our websites, because we have to maintain them and we have to pay all the relevant, tariffs, about them. And we have to do that, it's not just only in Lagos, in all the 6 zonal offices, actually as well. So you can see even in that particular context, there is a lot of challenge there.
Now, Dr. Usman, you talked about, the CMD having the power, to regulate management development institutes, wherever they are scattered in the country. But some, of them, if not many of them, will argue that, their employees or trainees, get some of the best that they can get, from overseas, from abroad. Now, why do they need to get regulated? I want to find out what's your...
to ask that question, but the situation may not be as it looks. Because if somebody went and trained, abroad, it doesn't necessarily mean it's better than the person who is local. That is one. And secondly, I spent 25 years of my life, a quarter of a century of my life in the UK. I advised so many ministers of education in the UK. I was an assistant principal of a college of 60,000, students, the largest in Europe. And likewise, I was an advisor to the British Council. And likewise, I was an advisor to Minister of Education, Dr. Of course, Aja Nwachukwu. And I was the Chief of Staff, was the Minister of National Planning. So the pedigree and the rudimentary competencies and capacity and capability is all in there. What is actually important is the level of commitment and the level of resources. And that is why when you talk, about our budgetary allocation, I say we need more resources so that we can deliver at international standard, at international best practice. But having, the custody, of the mandate to regulate, we are the agency that have the custody to regulate. And so certainly I agree with you. We have to lead by example. And that is why we are raising, the quality of our resources so that they can match international best practice. Certainly you go to some certain agencies, you will see they got excellent resources and they got excellent facilitators. We are working very hard also, as a government agency to match that. And we have made a lot of progress. For the last 3 years since when I came, I have sent some of my staff, about 67 of them, to go on overseas training. Some of them have gone to South Korea, some of them have been to China, to the UK. I went to Harvard University, and also, some went to India, for one kind of training or the other, so that we can raise the capacity of the workforce. And likewise, before you can operate, a management development institute and provide training, you must be a qualified trainer. And when I came, I had to embark on a training program for 250 of our staff in CMD. So we have built, the capacity, and we have built the infrastructure, both the tangible and intangible one. But of course, because of the dilapidation, for a long period of time, and that is why we have the challenge, and we urge actually the government, to bail us out and give us more money, to enable us to operate at international standard.
So then, from what you've said, how do we then manage, as the Director General, to procure some of these equipments that you talked about, so that going forward, the CMD can be able to, meet its set objectives and even target?